Hi, it's Rich Tehrani here in the TMC newsroom, and today we're speaking with Ullens, who is with Voxbone. Rod, how are you?
Fine, and you?
Good, good. Tell us a little bit about your company. What's going on?
Well, just as a recap of our main core business, Voxbone provides DID numbers, international DID numbers from about 48 countries. Not to consumers, not to end users, but to communication service providers, call centers, IP-based call conferencing providers. So any kind of business which is mainly IP-based and that needs a presence in a lot of markets for inbound calls. That's really our core business. What we've launched recently, and maybe that was a little bit the topic here today, is a new type of phone number that we've called Inum. And the goal of this phone number, or the goal of this service is to create a global phone number that's not linked to a certain country or city. It's a way to have a global presence with just one identifier. And our aim with this phone number is to do much more than just voice. Initially voice, but then SMS, then multimedia services, and also things like mobile payments. So Voxbone would like to enable these kind of services through just one global number. Again, not directly, but with a network of partners. We would provide numbers to our partners, and then they sub-allocate the numbers to their users.
Now, how have the partners responded to this news?
Well, very excited. I mean, the main partners today are the IP-based providers providing voice over IP services, and we already started allocating number blocks to these partners. Today, for example, if you have a Gizmo account, you have automatically an Inum number linked to that account, and many more providers like that are allocating Inum numbers. Then the second step that we are starting now is to, of course, make these numbers reachable, because having just a number that you cannot call from anywhere is no point. So we need to talk to the different carriers around the world and tell them to open up their network for these new number ranges.
So what are the main benefits?
Main benefits, it's really to have a new, well, I'll take an example. A lot of people today put their Skype ID, for example, on their business cards. Why? Well, just to give another option for people to contact them, because it's a new way of communicating that people like. And so same thing here. Inum would be an additional option that you give to your users to reach you via voice and via other means.
So speaking of new ways of communicating, obviously Twitter has been a service that's really been all the rage this year. Yeah. What is the integration, if any, with Twitter?
Well, it's a good question, because indeed what we are soon going to enable is SMS on Inum numbers. And that's exactly a good link with Twitter, because what you will be able to do is send an SMS message to an Inum number, and then that way update your Twitter status, for example, which you can do from the US. So that's nothing new, but that's it. You can do it maybe from the US, from the UK, 2-3 countries, but not worldwide. So since Inum is a worldwide number, as soon as we start enabling SMS on these numbers on a worldwide basis, you could do SMS to Twitter on a worldwide basis, for example. So that's the kind of things that it would enable.
I'm a value-added service provider. Let's say I'm a company like a Jot or someone else. How will your services benefit me?
Well, two ways. For example, a company like Jot allows you to transform, for example, a voicemail into an email, and it uses local numbers to do that. Whenever you have a call coming in, you forward your call to a new local number, which is then routed to Jot, and then Jot transcribes the voicemail into an email. But it's doing that only in the markets where it has a local number. So companies like that, as soon as they also use Inum numbers to enable their service, will expand their market on a worldwide basis, instead of being limited to just 40, 50 countries around the world.
I'm curious about Inum and its ownership. Is it just your company, or are other companies involved with it?
Well, Inum is a service that Voxbone launched, but in partnership with a lot of service providers, like I mentioned. So it's a Voxbone service, but since we don't provide it directly to consumers, we need a whole network of partners to really enable interesting applications. The only thing we do is to provide a backbone with some capabilities, and then every service provider uses that capability to make an interesting and sexy service out of that. So it's a mix. It's a trademarked service, Inum, but being implemented by a lot of companies around the world.
Now, are there synergies between the new Inum announcement and your core business?
It's not. Well, our core business is telephone numbers, so in that way it's really linked. The two are really linked with one another. It's still Inum is still a telephone number. It's a real phone number, except it's a worldwide number. So that's very linked. For us, our core business is still to provide local telephone numbers, and Inum number is just one type of number. So it's an expansion, I would say, of our core business the way it is today.
And what can we see or expect to see next from your company?
Next, well, one of the next things.
I don't want to rush you.
Well, for sure, we are very, very focused now on the mobile space,
okay.
Because that's just where everything happens.
Seems like there's a lot of potential there.
Yes, and what's interesting is that the mobile or the wireless carriers are really much more willing and to be creative and create new applications, connect to the internet-based services and so on than it was just even 5 years ago. So that's very interesting. And so one of the things that we'd like to do is stay, of course, focused on our business, but, for example, introduce mobile numbers. In the US, there is no difference between a landline number and a wireless number. It's both the same area codes. But in about every other country in the world, it's very different. There is a big difference between what you can do with a mobile number or fixed number. So it's very interesting. A lot of companies are now looking to get mobile numbers, and that's something we are working on.
Thank you so much. We've been speaking today with Ullens, who is the co-founder and CEO of Voxbone. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.